Aries, welcome to your reading for the week of April 18th. This week, you start off with the Three of Clubs, which in some ways is a card of second chances, getting second chances. However, I think this week it's just like kind of a very mental week for you. You have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 clubs cards. Clubs cards represent the brain and using your brain and how we use our brain to get things done and get the things that we want. So definitely a very creative week as well. So it's a great week to use your creativity, anything like that. Also a lot of fire energy this week. You know, the clubs cards represent fire. They represent fire signs and fire energy. You come up actually as yourself here as the King of Clubs, which we'll talk about in a second. So there's definitely a lot of like fiery energy, wanting to get things moving forward, all sorts of stuff going on this week with these clubs cards. The Three of Clubs can represent a fight as well, or like fighting, so definitely try and, don't get into any fights this week. Try to avoid any arguments and things like that with this card, because they can definitely get way out of control. And I'd say with this many clubs cards, while clubs cards are positive cards, I would still try to watch your reactiveness. Like, don't try not to be too reactive this week. Try to, use the brain side of this. The clubs cards represent the brain, so try to use your brain and think before you do things. Next, you have the King of Spades. King of Spades is all about looking at your resources and looking at what you have and looking at what you don't have and how you can get it and all sorts of things with the King of Spades. This has been coming up. I think, something similar has been coming up for Aries for a while around like looking at your resources. So it's definitely like a long-term type of deal. This card can also represent justice. The King of Spades and the Queen of Spades can both have to do with justice and seeing some justice in some way. And especially with like I said, with all these other clubs cards, some of you might be involved in like legal situations or like divorces or something like that, especially with that Three of Clubs, which it doesn't represent getting divorced. It just can represent already being in the process of a divorce or some sort of like legal battle like that. So this can be justice coming your way as well, and seeing some justice and maybe seeing some things working out more in your favor. So this is a very good card. Next, you have the King of Clubs, which is you, Aries. And this is, like I said, I like when people come up as their own sign. It kind of puts you in a position of strength and all of this. But it's also, this is a great card for stepping up and being a leader this week. You have two kings here, so it's a great week to kind of like, if you want to be put into some sort of management position or something like that at work, it's a great card for that. If you want to step up in your business and take on more responsibilities, it's great for that. And even just in like your regular life, if you want to step up and take more of a leadership role in your home or with your friends or whatever, it's a great week to do that with these cards. The King of Clubs is also about truth coming out, and I would say normally I would never say that. Normally I would never say that he's about the truth coming out, but I think with looking at the combination of the other cards you have here, there's definitely a lot of truth, kind of like truth coming out this week. And it's kind of one of those things. The King of Clubs does mean truth when it's combined with a bunch of other clubs cards. And you have the Seven of Clubs coming up next, which is, again, all about truth, and sometimes it's about things coming out. It's like you, and then there's like a missing piece right here. Like I say, the odd-numbered cards, there's always something missing. And so this can be the truth coming out and things like that. Seven of Clubs is actually a very successful card. It represents a lot of success. Sometimes this card can come up, and I mean, the message I'm getting for this week as well right now on this is like sometimes like maybe you don't want to tell somebody something, or it's like you're afraid to let something out, and then you let it out and it's like not a big deal. That's what the Seven of Clubs can represent. It can represent like just finally letting a truth out, or finally asking a question of somebody that you've been like super afraid to ask a question. Maybe you're like needing to ask somebody to loan some money, loan you some money or something like that, and you've been afraid to do it, and then you ask and they're like, oh yeah, no big deal, here. It's like always like Seven of Clubs is always one of those things where it's like you finally let it out, and then it's like not a big deal, and you're like, why was I so worked up about that? Why was I so worried about that? It's always like blowing something up in your head and then finding out. It's just so much easier. This can go for health as well. Like maybe you have some sort of health issue and you're afraid to go to the doctor, and then you go to the doctor and you find out it's like so much smaller and it's so much easier to take care of. So don't be afraid to like let those things out this week with that card. And next you have the Ace of Clubs. Very good card, probably my favorite card in the deck, because it represents it represents abundance in your whole entire life, not just money, but abundance coming in a lot of other ways. It's also a very good communication card. It says communications will go favorably, and that's why kind of when we tie it in with that 7 of clubs, and I say, like, this could be you going to the doctor and finding out that some issue you have is just like so tiny and so much easier to take care of, or maybe you have a car issue or something like that. Same thing. All these messages are coming in right now. It's going to be different for everybody, but maybe you have like a car issue and you're afraid it's going to cost you so much money, but really it's going to be so much less. And this card kind of adds a more positive tone to these issues with that 7 of clubs there. This card could also be like messages, hearing from somebody or hearing something from somebody about like them giving you some sort of tip or something like that. That could be very beneficial for you. So looks like a great week. Thank you for watching, and definitely enjoy the week.